It's that time of year again. It's time for the Wine Spectator's Top 10 Wines of 2024. Unlike years past, I did look at this list ahead of time because I wanted to try to taste some of the wines on camera. It turns out I had some of the wines already because they were sent to me in sample packs I've gotten over the recent weeks, and then I went out and bought a few that I could find. I have to say that this year's list was pretty vanilla. It was really just kind of going through the motions. I know a lot of wine geeks will complain about Wine Spectator's top 10 lists. You know, it's big brands or American wines. It's hard for Europeans to get. But you know what? At the end of the day, Wine Spectator is a business. They understand that they got to get eyeballs in front of their publications. So it's usually pretty high quality wines that are well distributed. Sometimes there's some rare American wines, some rare single vineyard type of wines. And yes, this type of list isn't catering to me fully. You know, a lot of these wines are really good. I like geeky, hard to find wines made from unique indigenous grape varieties, but at the end of the day, that's not the stuff that sells. That's not the stuff that people click on. I've been doing these reaction videos for a few years now. I have to say the videos that perform best are often the reaction to Wine Spectator's top 10 wines of the year. People click on videos, click on articles that feature California Cabernet, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Burgundy, or Bordeaux, and Champagne. That's just how the wine world works. We can kick and scream and cry about it, but that's just how it is. Let's get into the list. Number 10, we have the Ramey Sonoma County Russian River Valley Chardonnay 2022. Dave Ramey is an icon when it comes to California Chardonnay. His kids, Alan and Claire, have taken over. I have a lot of stories tied to this wine. Number one, I was just at Wine Spectator's New York experience a few weeks ago. Alan and Claire were pouring there, and I really liked them. I just had a great feeling for them. I'm not great at a lot of things, but I am great at reading people. They have fantastic energy. I love Alan's goofiness. And funny enough, I've only had Ramey's high-end single vineyard wines. I have not had their just basic Russian River Chardonnay. This, I see on the Wine Spectator website, it says $50. I've seen it for like $39. So I'm excited to taste it. I haven't tasted it. This is the first time I'm tasting it. Another cool story is over this last year, I've started working retail because I wanted to get more in touch with customers. And one of the owners of the Detroit Lions, Sheila Ford, comes into the shop, and Ramey, this Russian River Chardonnay, is one of her favorites. So I just saw her a few weeks ago, and I said, I just met the owners of Ramey, and I told them that you like their Chardonnay. They were so happy. So let's taste it here. Santa Barbara County is my favorite area for Chardonnay in America. I've tasted some gorgeous Oregon Chardonnays and Russian River Chardonnays in the last couple years. I've really started to change my mind. I have to say I've only had the single vineyards in the past, and they were extremely elegant. Really sensible Chardonnays, but still had that California fruit. Let's give this a taste here. So first of all, the oak does come across, but it's not too oaky. You get some pineapple type notes, some melon, some white peach, more like the yellow peach type flavors. Just like a touch of butter, but it's not overly buttery big Chardonnay, but you do get a touch of it. It just smells like well-balanced Chardonnay, but to me, this screams Californian. I don't think I would confuse this with something of Côte de Beaune. It's really good. It's rich, it's unctuous. Wine Spectator gave it a 94. I mean, that's pretty spot on. I think this is an excellent wine. In America, producers are dialing back on the oak quite a bit. Like, this does have oak, but it's not too much. It's actually just a really good California Chardonnay. I'm biased because I like the family. Obviously, I've ties a story to this wine. I think this is really good and worth seeking out. $39 if you can find it. It's worth that price point. I think it's very good. Let's move on. Number 9 is a wine that also have ties to. I was surprised when this came through. One of only, I think, 2 Italian wines in the top 10 list. Man, the top 10 list was dominated by American wines this year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6 of the top 10 were American wines. This is the GD Vajra. This is the Albe Barolo 2020. This is their entry-level Barolo. I'll tell you why this wine is connected to me. This was probably the first fine wine I drank as I started to ascend in terms of my wine geekiness when I was just a consumer. I remember I was sitting in the shop I used to go to in Singapore. I used to bring my laptop there. I used to love journaling, writing in my gratitude journal, writing about goals, things I wanted to accomplish. And I wanted to try Barolo. I'd never tried it. I was just starting to make money. I was in chiropractic practice. My practice was just starting to take off. I bought a bottle of Albe. I can't remember what vintage it was. I think it was like 2008 or 2009. And I remember just sitting there and sniffing it in the glass and smelling it forever. And I was like, I get it now. Barolo, the prices are going up quite a bit. This is still relatively affordable. We sell this in my retail shop for $39.99, although we have a great price on it. I have not tasted 2020 Barolos yet. I've tasted a lot of 2020 Barbarescos. I think this is my first 2020 Barolo that I'm tasting. I know that the 19s are really hard to top. 19 and 16 in recent years for me is where it's at when it comes to the reds from Piemonte. Let's give this a taste. Vajra owns quite a bit of land in Piemonte, especially in Barolo, so their wines can be a little bit more affordable as the prices go up. Their single vineyard wines are exceptional. I've had a lot of them recently, but the Albe is just good value for money. It showed up, I think the 2018 or 17 showed up in a video a couple years ago where I blind tasted Sangiovese versus Nebbiolo. Go ahead and search for that video. It's a lot of fun. Made of the grape Nebbiolo, 100%. Northwest Italy. Barolo's one of the greatest wines in Italy and the world. Okay, a little bit shy at first. I'm used to Barolos having a lot of prettiness, a lot of crushed rose petal, some tar notes. This is more like cranberry, some leather type components. I did notice the 2020 Barbarescos that I did have had a little bit more VA than the 2019, so made me think that maybe it's a warmer vintage. Maybe they had problems with some higher pHs. I don't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't in the cellar. The beauty of this Albe Barolo is the drinkability. Those of you that know, drink Barolos young, the tannins can get really aggressive. The stuff that makes your mouth pucker can be quite astringent. Here in the Albe, they always really manage to make the tannins a little softer, although modern producers in Piemonte, especially Barolo, Barbaresco, are making the wines more approachable early on. I have to say that this is good wine, and I still think it's value at 39 bucks for a Piemonte red, especially based on Nebbiolo. It's not bringing me the excitement that I usually get when I'm drinking Barolo, but that happens a lot of times. At Barolo Barbarescos, you can get all hyped up, open a bottle, and not get as excited. I think it's very good wine. Right now, is that bringing all the excitement? So, this is hard. I like that they put a value, readily available Barolo on the list. I just think that in recent years, I've had some more exciting Barolos. But again, the beauty of this is its drinkability and approachability. It's good. Like, maybe I would drink that tonight. We'll see. We'll see here. Let's move on. Number 8, the William Sellium. This is the Russian River Pinot Noir. This is the East Side Road Neighbors. This is a single vineyard, I believe. It comes in at 72 bucks. William Sellium. I've been tasting a lot of older vintages lately, not because they're in my cellar. Some of my collector friends are actually on the mailing list, so I've been tasting some older ones, which are really nice because I don't really like these wines when they're too young. Sometimes they can be a little bit too oaky with me, choked off with oak. But man, I've been having some William Sellium wines from the 90s, and they have really been singing. They've been outstanding. 72 bucks on Wine Spectator's website. That's the price of American Pinot Noir. This is a brand name. This is one of the pioneers of great Pinot Noir in America, so we'll leave it at that, I guess. I would have been just a tad more excited to see a Santa Barbara Pinot Noir in its place there. Let's move on. Number 7, we have the Domaine de Vue Telegraph Chateauneuf de Pape Lacroix 2020, over 100 bucks. I'm actually going back to Chateauneuf de Pape next year, which I'm excited about. I used to go every vintage, but now I haven't been going as much. I think it's been a few years since I've been back there. First of all, Lacroix is a fantastic lieu dit, which is a single vineyard in area in Chateauneuf de Pape that is really highly regarded. I know that Domaine de Vue Telegraph is one of the big names, one that everybody knows. They also make a more affordable Chateauneuf de Pape called Telegram, which I recommend. I think that it's worth seeking out. Good wine, and I love Chateauneuf de Pape. This is not my favorite producer of Chateauneuf de Pape. There is a recognizable brand. It's one to seek out, though. I might be able to give you more input on this next year when I go to Chateauneuf de Pape and taste the new vintages from this producer. Chateauneuf de Papes in America were championed by Robert Parker. He loved the approachability, the softness of them when you compare to young Bordeaux or Burgundy. I have to agree. I know that people talk about the greatness of Châteauneuf-du-Pape as it ages. I've had a lot of old vintages of Châteauneuf-du-Pape. I generally like to drink it on the younger side, 3 to 5 years or right upon release. That's just how I like it. It's just my style. Good that Châteauneuf-du-Pape is, you know, on the list, but there are some other producers that I really like there, but a lot of them are small producers. But okay. It is what it is. Next up is another wine that's pretty readily available, and I had it in my retail shop. This is the Rose Rock from Drouhin in Oregon, Pinot Noir 2022, Aeolia Amity Hills. Drouhin was the first Burgundy producer, I think, to invest in Oregon, way back in the day when Oregon was just getting started. I've had the Domaine Drouhin, their kind of flagship label before. I have not had this Rose Rock. I know that here on the website it says 44 bucks. I know at the shop that I work at, I bought this for 34 bucks. So let's taste it. Sometimes I think that in Oregon, producers are trying to make Burgundy too much. They're trying too hard when they should just make an Oregon style. Oregon style, you know, there's an Oregon style all in itself. Oregon Pinot Noirs can actually be pretty concentrated, more concentrated than people realize because the summers are warm. The rain doesn't come until after Pinot Noir can be picked. I remember this was many years ago, the Domaine Drouhin, I had the estate, and I remember it being kind of in between. A nice little balance of trying to be Burgundy, but also trying to be Oregon. Let's give this a smell here. This smells really good, but it does not smell Burgundy. This smells like American Pinot Noir. I get a little bit of perfume, crushed raspberry. It's more fruity than earthy. Like, it's just, you get tons of like raspberry, purple fruits, perfume, a little bit of violets, just like bright crystalline flavors. Wine Spectator, who they claim they taste everything blind, and usually their scores are a little bit lower with score inflation going up, gave this 94 points. I think that's a bit high for me. I think it's a very enjoyable bottle of wine. The Wine Spectator price, 44 bucks. I don't know if I'd pay that. 34 bucks, I think it's pretty fair the way that Oregon Pinot Noir is going. I think it's really good wine. Again, Wine Spectator, the top 10 list, they're not putting 100-point wines all over the list. I don't know how they're doing it. I know in recent years, like last year, they had a Grey Wacky Sauvignon Blanc wine that's like 20 bucks on the list. Wines that are offering a lot of bang for your buck. I think this is good. Is it the most exciting Oregon Pinot Noir I've had ever? No, but it's very good. It also might be the vintage. The 2022s that I've been tasting from Oregon are not as exciting to me as the 2021s. Still think this is a good bottle of wine. At my shop price, 35 bucks, I think that's a pretty good price. That's worth checking out. Let's move on here. Wine number 5 is the Chimney Rock Cabernet Sauvignon Stag's Leap District 2021, 120 bucks. I had this in my cart just a few hours ago, but I learned that we were prepping to taste this tomorrow at my shop, so I just got a quick taste of it. I literally tasted it a few hours ago. Chimney Rock has their kind of basic Napa Cabernet Sauvignon. You gotta look closely in the label. If you look at this one, the Stag's Leap District, I believe this is a state fruit. Stag's Leap fruit is pretty distinctive to me. There's a lot more tobacco flavors. It's on the valley floor. There are 16 AVAs in Napa. A lot of people don't realize. In a lot of subzones, there's valley floor fruit, and then there's fruit from up in the mountains. They're all a little bit different. When I did taste this, this was serious wine. It was rich. It was complex. It had those Napa Cab flavors. It was more riper than I expected. More kind of like an Oakville Cabernet Sauvignon. Didn't have as much Stag's Leap tobacco-ness as I'd like. And then my only complaint with Napa Cabernet is yes, they can be excellent wines, but when they're young, they all kind of taste the same. It all becomes a little bit monotonous. It's all fruit and everything. They want to make them approachable up front. The beauty in Napa Cab as when it ages, but a lot of people buy these wines and drink them upon release. I did think this was good, but man, 100 bucks, I think, man, if you want those kind of flavor profiles, you're going to get a little bit more bang for your buck in other parts of the world, somewhere like South Africa, Argentina even. The Cabernet Sauvignon coming out of Argentina is excellent. Chile, also in Tuscany, Super Tuscans around Maremma, Bulgari, even those wines are expensive. You can get them at less prices than the Napa Cabernet. I thought it was really, really good wine. It wasn't really moving me when I tasted it a couple of hours ago, but I have to tell you, that's the problem when you're in the wine industry and you're tasting a lot of great wines. You're tasting all these great wines, so your overall threshold goes up. So for something to really move you, it's got to be really, really, really good. And as you drink and taste better and better wines, it's harder and harder to have those little aha moments. A lot easier when you're just starting out, I have to say. Okay, number 4, we have the Faust Cabernet Sauvignon from Napa Valley 2021. At my shop, it's 49 bucks. I've seen it around other shops for around the $55 range. Wine Spectator has it at 65 bucks. At that kind of price point, it's unheard of to get good Napa Cab at that price. I think the most affordable ones you'll see out there now currently are Buena Vista, which you can get 35 to 40 bucks. Sterling, Louis Martini, I think is about 44 bucks. Even 4 years ago, that was 29 bucks. I do not have the 2021. I have the 2022 because in my shop, we were all out of 2021. And I just bought it because, you know what? I want to taste the house style. 2021 was a legendary vintage in Napa, was outstanding. 2022, it's still up to debate whether it's a good vintage or not. I know they had some problems, but I'm excited to taste this because if you can get good Napa Cab at 50 bucks, I think that's a win. A lot of these wines we had in my shop, and I know that a lot of producers tell me the Wine Spectator top 10 list really does matter, but this week, some of these wines on the top 10 list, like the Remy, Rose Rock, the Elbe, they weren't really moving that much. I don't know if that's the state of the industry nowadays. And my shop's in a pretty affluent area, so I don't know. Okay. I'd have to say, so far of the wines I tasted here, I think the Remy is probably the most exciting for me. So let's give this a smell here. Smells like Napa Cab flavors. You get Cassis Black Cherry, a little bit of leather, a lot of fruit, violets. This does smell like a little bit more of an elegant Napa Cab, so I'm going to give them that much. 14.5 alcohol. I'm going to put on 2 hats here. As a wine geek and personal preference, I don't like this wine at all. At all. It's just fruity, round, you get oak, the tannins are soft, it's smooth, so to speak. I mean, at 50 bucks, I think you're getting a lot of Bordeaux that bring a lot more thunder and excitement for my palate personally. But as you start drinking wines more and more, you want nuance, you want more earth and mineral flavors. Here, this is all fruit. Let me put it on the consumer hat. Fans of the like Camus Quilt, which is also made by Camus. It's not quite that big, but it is pretty big and it's gonna be friendly. It's a good wine. Alternative to Camus, I guess. I'm not super excited about it. I'm sure the people there are lovely. It's just not my style of wine. You got to know what you want. That's the thing. I think that's why people love looking at these top 10 lists or even my top 10 reaction lists. I've learned in wine that people want an opinion from someone that they perceive has better taste than them, because wine is confusing as it is. That's why scores actually still do matter. And a lot of times with Wine Spectators, especially, the wines can be pretty predictable. But a lot of times, people that have money are buying these wines, they just want validation that their taste is correct. And okay, you know, you're not gonna get that validation from me on the Faust. I mean, it's good wine, 94, you know, even in this style, I'd probably be more like in the 89, 90 range. I think it's really good wine. It's just not my style and it doesn't have enough nuance. Let's move on. Number 3, I have a bone to pick here. The Tignanello 2021. 2021 was a great vintage in Italy. It's now at 180 bucks. Tignanello's a wine that I used to really love. And even 10, 15 years ago, I was buying it at pretty darn good prices. Sometimes even got on clearance under 50 bucks. Now I think it's pretty ridiculous, the price point. Yes, based on Sangiovese, one of the original Super Tuscans. So you've got those wonderful sour cherry and earth and pepper flavors. 2021 has a fine line of acidity. Really nice tannins that just kind of grip and massage the palate. It is a really good wine. My problem is at 180 bucks, it's a lot. I think that you can get a lot of Sangioveses at a much lower price that bring a lot of excitement. Me personally, I love Rosso di Montalcinos. You get those anywhere from 30 to 40 bucks in the US, a lot less when you're in Europe. Sometimes you can get them in Europe for under 10 euros. I think they bring a lot of excitement and it's good wine. Another bone to pick is Tignanello. I know the philosophy with Antinori was that they used to want to make the wine expensive, but yet accessible for most people to drink, but it is what it is. And, you know, I don't know how these things work, but last year, Marchesi Antinori's Chianti Classico Riserva, which is basically baby Tignanello, made at the Tignanello estate, was also in the top 10. So take that for what it's worth. Number 2, the Beaulieu Vineyard Cabernet Sauvignon Georges de Latour Private Reserve 2021, 95 points, 170 bucks. Again, classic Napa Cabernet Sauvignon has existed for a long time. It's big Napa Cabernet. It has nuance. It's a good wine. Again, 180 bucks. I think that, man, I'm drinking... For instance, I did a Bordeaux tasting. I worked a Bordeaux tasting a couple weeks ago, and a lot of people loved Chateau Cantemero, which is a $50... No, it's a $40 wine, which I think is exceptional. It's a fifth growth. And even when I did a Bordeaux tasting a couple months ago with my collector friends, one of the best wines in that lineup was a 2005 Chateau Cantemero. So, you know, 40 bucks versus 170 bucks. I know that's the price of Napa these days. I don't know if there's going to be market correction because now Napa grapes are coming on the market, which are a lot cheaper. I don't know. It's expensive. It's good wine, but it's expensive. And no surprise that there's a Napa Cab on the list. I'm really shocked that there's no Champagne or Bordeaux on the list. All right, the number one wine of 2024, according to Wine Spectator, is the Don Melchor Cabernet Sauvignon 2021 from Chile, which I have right here. This wine means a lot to me. I don't like the price now, 175 bucks. I know when I was starting to buy this was like 15 years ago. Even I was getting it like 60, 70 bucks maybe? I can't remember, or, you know, I knew the importer at the time, so I was getting a bit of a deal on it. I remember when I was in Singapore, one of my clients was actually the wife to the importer of Concha y Toro and other South American wines. He invited me to his house to do a big tasting. You know, I was new to wine, I didn't know that much, and he was like, look, come here. You want good stuff? I know you drink good wine. I'm gonna pour you something. He poured me a Don Melchor, and that's when that was the first South American wine that I was really blown away by. This was a long time ago. And then about 6, 7 years ago, I was in Serbia. I was in Belgrade because I was living there part-time part of the year as I was traveling through Europe. And one of the best producers in Serbia makes a high-end Cabernet Sauvignon that's really coveted on the local market. He invited me to a restaurant and we did a vertical tasting of his Cabernet Sauvignon, and I brought a 2006 Don Melchor that I found in a shop in Serbia. Found 2 bottles, and that thing was singing. I remember the producer was like, do you think my wine will age like this? And his wines were damn good, but he was like, man, this is really, really good. So Don Melchor, classic Cabernet Sauvignon. I gotta get down there. Let's taste this bad boy. Actually, you know what? I've been saving this wine for an upcoming Great Bordeaux Blends from Around the World tasting, so you're just gonna have to wait to that video, and then you'll see it then. Wine Spectator top 10 list this year. A little math for me, a little bit vanilla, but what do you think about the top 10 list? Have you tasted some of the producers on the list or some of the wines? I'd love to hear. Drop it in the comments below.